Hi everyone, my name is Carolina Allen and I'm here with my friend Margo Watson. We're both members of Big Ocean Women, which is the world's leading maternal feminist organization. And today we're going to talk to you about some of these global issues that we're seeing at the United Nations and other ways.
And how they're affecting us at a local level. So why? You mentioned to me that language is so important. What does that mean and why?
Well, language is everything. It's the vehicle by which we share ideas and beliefs and values and moral codes, and everything is encompassed and enshrined in language, which, as you know, is really critical when you're pushing forth policies and laws. And at the international level, language is even more important because it trickles down and impacts nations, and that's called international soft law. So we have conventions that have these outcome documents that really impact nations, and at the cultural level as well. We also have treaties which are extremely binding, and so language is really critical. And what we found at Big Ocean Women when we attend the United Nations is that things aren't always what they seem. And so you have to really dig deep to understand the meaning and the definitions of really important words. And so a lot of things sound really nice, but when you really get to the heart of it, it's not really what you think it is.
One example is when they're calling mothers unpaid care workers.
Yeah.
Trying to minimize motherhood is not really important.
Yeah, I wish we could have the language of mother included in really important documents, but sadly we're just relegated to an unpaid care worker. But that's, at the very, very surface of a whole depth of really critical language that's being interpreted differently and defined in specific ways so that it can get wedged into a lot of these really impactful legal documents.
So I know that years ago, over a decade ago, you attended the UN and you were shocked by what was being presented then.
Yes.
And so you organized a whole group of women to go with you. How have you seen things change over the last 10 years in terms of language?
Well, in terms of language, there's been a real push to neutralize gendered language, and that's been going forward. There's been a real push to promote things that a majority of the women of the world would not subscribe to. So there's a real anti-pro-life agenda being pushed. In fact, there's a lot of groups, pro-family groups, that try to attend and try to have a voice, and we're really sidelined a lot of times. So it's been really difficult. So definitely there's been an increase of, we hear a lot about the language pushback against the pushback. We hear that over and over again, and clearly they're talking about governments and nonprofit organizations that don't necessarily agree with the things being pushed.
The agenda that's going forward. So in terms of language as well, SDGs, what are those and how are those SDGs changed by the language that is there?
So the SDGs are really nice. I mean, we want, education for all. We want a clean world. We want no poverty.
No poverty.
Yeah, all
everybody
of these
able to
things.
eat.
Yeah, all of these sound really, really great. The only problem is when there's only one way to accomplish those things. So for many people around the world, the core institution is the family, and we feel like strengthening the family should be an option. But when that's not an option, when it's not even remotely included in any of the things that we hear, any of the presentations, any of the language, that makes it at the UN, that makes it not an option. And so it's almost like the agenda that's being pushed forth, actually called the 2030 Agenda, they just want to move it their way, with the kind of outcomes that they want, with the kind of mechanisms that they want. And the family institution is not a part of that plan.
Which is very unnerving and concerning. For more information, please go to bigoceanwomen.org. We have a variety of different topics that you can read more about the UN, the position, and of course the position of Big Ocean Women, and how they're trying to help you be a more educated populace. Thank you.